Hey everybody, it's Barry here with XenTegra. Just a quick intro before the podcast. Many moons ago, I want to say June, July last year, Seb and I talked about running a community podcast where the intro for the podcast is going to be submitted by the community. So I finally got off my rump and put it all together. So if you're interested, there's 5 submissions that we would like you guys to vote on, and whoever submitted the winning MP3 is going to get some fantastic XenTegra swag, some IGEL swag, and a shout out on the podcast. So the poll is up in the IGEL community today. Be sure to head over there, check it out. If you're not a member of the IGEL community, my question to you is why not? So head over there, sign up, IGELcommunity.com, or if you want to just do it on your mobile before you join up, hit me up on LinkedIn. It's also posted in my profile. So that's linkedin.com/Barry.Browne with an E at the end. See you in the community. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to a long overdue podcast, the IGEL Community Podcast, episode 89. We took a bit of a hiatus there for the holidays. The last recording was November, I want to say, Seb, and now we're sitting down to record January 31st. Getting ready to move into the second month of the year. So I know it's way too late to be saying this, but Happy New Year, friend. We haven't talked in a while.
Thank you very much. I hope your New Year's Eve and Christmas party were great.
You know, I don't remember them. So that's either really good or really bad. But it's 31 days ago since New Year's Eve, and more than that since Christmas, and my birthday was during that period too. So I'm older and wiser now. Older and wiser.
Happy birthday, Barry! I wasn't aware of this. When was it?
Oh, in December. Well, since it's between Christmas and New Year's. So I'm definitely an old geezer now. I got the gray hair over here to prove it. So, what about you? How do you guys celebrate? Is New Year's a big deal in Germany? Like, I know in North America, Times Square, New York, the ball drops. Like, what's the big, thing to do New Year's Eve, or is it more of a low key affair?
Drink and eat.
Okay, that's kind of about the same here.
It's basically all of it, right? So you're getting friends or your family at home, or going to a restaurant together with friends. But after that, it depends from where you live. If you're living out of a city like I do, there's not a lot of things to do around it. So you just go outside, drink a glass of champagne, and say hi and Happy New Year to your neighbors. But that's it, basically. Firework and all that stuff isn't that big in Germany. So you can buy your own fireworks only for the New Year's Eve, and just smaller fireworks, which are extremely expensive, and you can fire them down for that night. After that, you're not allowed to do it anymore. But big cities, I wouldn't be aware that there is a firework or a big party somewhere. Maybe in Berlin or in Frankfurt, but
So you're not in a big city? I always assumed you were in some metropolis. Okay.
No.
Okay, so you're kind of in a suburb?
Yeah, that's correct. That's one of the big advantages from where I live. But what we have is about 50 kilometers to reach Frankfurt, which isn't that far away, but it's not that close just to drive there to get in a restaurant.
Come on now, Seb. 50 kilometers on the Autobahn. What's that? 3 minutes?
Well, yeah, a little bit less maybe sometimes.
Well, I'm glad to hear you made it into the new year safe and sound on a low-key affair in your neck of the woods. Same here. I was in bed, fast asleep by 11 o'clock. My kids and my wife were trying to force me to stay up, but I fell asleep on my little chair, and I woke up, 11:30, quarter to 12, and they were all asleep on the other couch. So we went out in style.
Okay, that was not the party that we were expecting from a European perspective, where you go crazy all the night.
I already told you, I'm an old man now. You know what? I had a birthday, so 1 year wiser. The partying days are behind me. But anyway, speaking of partying days, 2023 in the community was pretty wild, pretty big. A lot of success.
Yeah.
From me kind of looking on the outside, kind of looking in as to the growth, the positivity, and the overall community spirit. That it's just pop. As the kids say, it's popping off.
That's correct. So we had a tough year, to be honest. We had a new structure which took place. We introduced a lot of new processes. So just for our listeners, you might know what the term private build is meaning. Private build is a firmware update, a firmware version which includes a specific use case or a newer version of a software. And as in OS 11, we don't have this flexibility of just rolling out a specific application like in OS 12. You have to deploy a whole firmware. That's just the historical part of it. And we are publishing these private builds, which is quite unique, only in the community. In the outside world, you would have to ask your pre-sales or support guy, could you send me that version over? If you get the information that there is a new private build. And coming back now to the new process that we launched in 2023, you are now able in new product releases, able to ask via a form to get the download link to a specific private build. And just out of curiosity, how many requests did we have in 2023? What would you say, Barry?
For private builds, I'm going to say...
It's quite unique, right? I mean, it's really specific use case.
It's very niche. I'm going to say 333.
That's nice. We were above 600.
Wow. Okay.
600 requests. And just to give you an idea, in the former times when Doug and I took over that task to send them out, you should send us an email and we copy it really manually. Every link into a new email, send it over to you. So it took, 30 seconds to a minute per private build. And let's imagine now 600 times, 1 minute. We definitely saved a little bit of time because everything is automated in that moment.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
So just kind of off topic, but excuse me, the private builds, that's generally to fix a particular issue or a request before, quote unquote, a formal build is released. Is that the idea?
And that's exactly correct. A specific use case, or sometimes we're combining them to cover multiple use cases at once. I'm just thinking out loud, like latest Citrix Workspace app version combined with a new smart card driver, something like this. Mm-hmm. But usually, yes, it's really, we have a fix which we need to test, or a customer is asking to a specific version, and that's where a private build is usually hitting in. As mentioned at the beginning, OS 12 is a way more flexible because you just push the respective app to your device. But on this monolithic firmware approach as well on OS 11, it's always a new firmware update. And now, let's imagine that you have a fix in firmware version 1, a fix in firmware version 2, and you would like to streamline both. That's not possible that easily. You have to ask again or wait for the next rolling release. And that's the reason why we said, hey, just give out this private builds because it's really helping people to test that use case, but make it fast so people can really react quite quickly on it.
Right. So me not being a developer, would it be fair to say that the development cycles needed to maintain the OS 12 code base is much, much lower?
Yeah,
where the OS 12 is essentially using, it's naked for lack of a better word, where it doesn't have the Citrix bits, the Horizon bits. So there should be, in theory, be less private builds in OS 12. Is that accurate or no?
It is absolutely accurate. So you're absolutely right. That's one of the biggest goals that we try to achieve with OS 12, to be more agile in terms of app deployment. That's one part, but also from the development perspective, because I wouldn't say that OS 11 is an old product that would match it, because it's a great product still, and a lot of customers are still using it. I'm still using it in specific areas of my lab. But it's an approach that we followed for, I don't want to lie too much, but for 8 years, because OS 10 and OS 11 is not a big change. Between OS 5 and OS 10, it was a bigger change, but if you ask me, not that much. So if you think back, I would say it's maybe roughly 10 years that we are using the same approach of creating this firmware. And now OS 12 is really a complete rebuild of everything. So not only the deployment, but also the whole communication stack. I mean, I don't want to hijack your podcast to talk about OS 12, but OS 12 is really something absolutely new. So I would say that no stone were left untouched. And even the communication, which was in formerly times used by 30,001, 30,005, 8443, is now streamlined in 8443, and that's it. So it's more kind of an ICG WebSocket communication approach where you just need one port and not that complicated network diagram.
A whole lot more modern. So just going back to the community conversation. So, you had 600 odd requests for private builds. What are the kind of, stats or features or numbers do you have, you want to share with us about, how the community was in 2023? And in a few minutes, we'll break out the crystal ball and look at 2024.
What would you think how many people joined the IGEL community in 2023? To give you an idea, in former times we were something in between 1,000 and 1,400.
So 2023, thinking about that, that's kind of, COVID was well in the rear-view mirror. Yeah. The work at home, people are mostly established. So I'm going to say the number's lower, simply because, so I'm going to say 800.
Wrong.
Oh,
Definitely wrong. It was about 2,000 members. So to be more accurate, it was 1,988 new people who joined us. So we had roughly, it's just an average value, right? But I would have to double check, was about 7 or 8 new members per day, which is incredibly high, to be honest.
that's
Especially
unreal.
if you think about that, we're not in COVID anymore.
Because for me, the adoption of IGEL was, went parallel with COVID. COVID kicked off, the consumption of IGEL went up, the community grew, but it's fantastic to see it still has that hockey stick trajectory. That's fantastic.
It still does. And it's definitely something which will be hard to override this year, even if, and that's a topic that we will discuss later on, kind of a new disrupt approach, which will hopefully bring us new members joining. But still, it's incredible that we still had the chance to overachieve what we did in the last years, which I wouldn't have expected, to be honest. It's not a work of Rene or Seb or someone else. It's just the work of the community.
Right.
You're doing an amazing job. The IGEL VIPs, Member of the Year, insiders who are helping day in, day out. And beside that, it's just talking, right? It's just talking about what the community is bringing value, because we're not selling something to you. And that's something which is extremely important to me. We do not want to have marketing, even if I like them a lot. We don't want to have sales jumping in, even if I like them a lot. And I'm also working for money. But still, the community should stay independent from all that stuff. And that's where I'm saying it's incredible that we reached that number.
So you said something pretty quickly there. You blew over pretty fast that, this time last year, Seb was Mr. Community. This time, 2024, it's Seb and Rene. So talk to me a bit about, Rene's role. Why was decided that Rene should be brought into the community, and how you guys split duties.
That was something, the idea came up in early 2023. So as you all know, Doug left IGEL the year before, and I was taking care of the community more or less alone, which is a pretty tough job partially, but obviously we have a lot of help from you guys. We have help from our partners and customers, but still there was an idea. Rene is an extremely great showman, so he can tell great stories. He can captivate people for specific topics, and he's just a great person to talk about what the community stands for. That's one piece. But we said, okay, why not having him doing the part where I'm not that good in telling stories, in being maybe less German, less French, but a little bit more emotional and talking on big stages. And that's where we said, okay, Rene could be a good catch. And then we made the start in, I would have to double check, but April or May last year to move him into the community hood. And then he came up with the idea to start a podcast. So I don't want to make any concurrence with the actual podcast, but just in case, we have an IGEL Community Podcast also run by Rene, and Rene had the chance to talk also with Barry. It was a month or 2 months ago.
Oh, I think it's more than that. Yeah.
More than that? Was it last year already? Yeah, it was last year. You're right. It was last year, definitely. Yeah.
Well, let's stop them just before you continue. Let's plug that real quick, because it actually is a very good podcast. It's called Behind the Hedgehog. I'm pretty sure it's available on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or whatever their Apple podcast store, whatever it's called these days. So Behind the Hedgehog, give it a quick Google on your podcast player of choice. I'm sure you'll find it. So on with the promotion of Rene's podcast. Back again.
Thank you, Barry. You will check a little bit later on. That's absolutely fine. But now we said, okay, that's also, we introduced a lot of new features, a lot of new things in the year 2023, but I'm still more the engineer guy who is trying to optimize the code, who is trying to optimize the workflows. But for someone who is talking to masses and talking to other community, that's where Rene is excelling. And that we said, hey, that would be a perfect match. And we had some internal changes inside of IGEL. And we said, okay, why not using that power to bring the community to the next level? And that's where we hope that the 2024 will just make the break, right? To move from being our community and talking about this community outside of our company. And that's where Rene is, that's where we are separating a bit.
Right,
he is
okay.
The outside part of the community, so he is also supporting us in meetups and so on. But he is more the external, I would call it the external face of the IGEL community. Can I formulate it this way?
Yeah. I think what you're saying. He's the extrovert of the community. Does that make sense?
That's perfect.
Okay, there
way
we go.
Better than I did.
Just going back to a previous comment you made, you also said, when you mentioned Renee in your comments, you also kind of quickly bypassed the whole Insiders VIP Member of the Year. Let's talk about that a minute and what those roles are, why they're important to the community, and how people can get involved with the Insiders group, the VIP group for 2024.
The Insiders are, I would say, IGEL employees without an IGEL salary, which is good, in my opinion. Nah, kidding aside, no, but that's what you're doing, right? I mean, we are delighted to have Barry Browne in our Insider group as a VIP and Member of the Year. What we have is we have people who are helping on a daily basis in the IGEL community. So asking a question and you get an answer. Usually, if you are asking a question, you will ask 10 questions, but maybe the 11th answer or the 11th poll that you will make is answering a question of someone else because you know now how to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the Insiders grew over the time. People were asking questions, customers, partners, distributors worldwide, moved in different positions, but are helping more than others, are sharing more content than others, are creating more blog posts than others. And that's where I would say that Insiders are crucial to us because it doesn't have to be an external person. It can also be an IGEL employee who identifies itself with the values of the community and also sharing this spirit outside of our ecosystem. And these Insiders are reviewed and awarded one time a year, usually during the Disrupt, which is happening in Munich or in the US, in Nashville, and this year in Miami. And that gives a lot of advantages, like getting NDA informations, getting specific calls with product management, get access to early access program, to early access resources, get direct access to private builds without having to asking them. And a Porsche last year, right? It was a Porsche that we sent over to you.
No,
Porsche
a Lamborghini.
Ah, damn, it was a Lamborghini. I hope that we can get some more people joining now. No, but that's the award process that we are until now. And before we go to the VIPs, I tried together with our Insider group to find a more, I would not say structured way because it was already structured, but a more fair way to find the new class of 2024 inside of our community. Because until now, I didn't have the community. I had a couple of names in my head and some stats that we're getting from the community. But hey, why not having also people recommending someone? Because I'm not looking at every thread sometimes and I might have overseen something. And why not having an award program where people can recommend someone? So that's the first thing that we started. So Insider can recommend someone which is not an Insider to become an Insider. Beside that is getting a scoring like, Barry, you're doing an amazing job with your blog. You're posting things there. You should get something out of it, right? So saying, Barry posted 5 blogs in 2023 that give him 100 points and will give him direct access to be an Insider in the year 2024. And we're doing the same with the IGEL Member of the Year, with the IGEL VIPs. Coming back now to the VIPs, the VIPs is the next level. So that's really something which is only available to external folks like distributors, customers, and partners, no IGEL employees anymore. And that's the next level. So we are trying to find additional. Yeah, please go ahead.
So just I want to kind of lay out the hierarchy. So we have regular members of the IGEL community, folks who do an outstanding job, get invited to be or nominated to be an Insider, and then have to be. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have to be an Insider before you can be a VIP? Is that how
that's
okay.
absolutely correct.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's exactly the process. And we said that VIPs shouldn't be IGEL employees, but can only apply to external folks. And from there, we are awarding external and internal Member of the Year, and that's the highest awarding that you can get a year, besides getting nominated to a fellow. The actual state is that we have internal and external Member of the Year for North America and for EMEA. So we have 4 Member of the Year per period. And stay tuned for Disrupt in Miami, hopefully, where we will be able to publish the masterclass of 2024. Disrupt was also a thing that we had some questions on the community, right, Barry?
Yeah, I guess maybe we'll dive into that next. So Disrupt last year, it was the first time I met you in person in Nashville, and I still remember conversations I had with you in the elevator when you were absolutely blown away by the size of these places. Like
incredible.
What was it? The Gaylord Resort in Nashville, and this was an absolute monstrosity of a hotel. And this year, the U.S. event is going to be in Miami. I'm not going to say the name of the hotel because I'm not sure it's public yet. But it looks to be another monstrosity of a hotel in Miami Beach. Hollywood Beach area, I think, is actually where it's officially. And that's going to be, Seb, keep me honest, April 29th, I think, is day one.
It's a start. That's correct. It's a 3-day event, so until Wednesday, packed full of tech sessions. So obviously, from a community perspective, we are trying to push the community first, but there are a lot of other sessions that we might expect. So, fun fact, yesterday in the evening time, we had my evening time, your morning time, we had a call with Karl Gesch, our Vice President of Marketing, who shared internal information about what the Disrupt event will look like. So that's also an advantage that you get in being an insider. You are getting more briefings, more information before an event starts. Mm-hmm. But coming back, you're absolutely correct. And we plan to have also an IGEL community come together. We will have a separate IGEL community area where we can exchange and talk about the IGEL community. We might have also a podcast booth where we will be able to record podcasts together with partners like Barry. And that's a huge step. So to be clear, I don't know what I have to expect from that event because it's a bit different from what we had in the last years.
Yeah.
But I'm really, really thrilled.
Yeah, from my perspective, I wasn't able to attend the call live last night, but I watched the recording earlier today. And looking over the agenda that's slowly being finalized, it looks like it's going to be a phenomenal event. All the players in the EU space, CU space, we're going to have Citrix, we're going to have VMware, we're going to have all the partner ecosystems are going to be there. And I know Carl was kind of marketing it as the EUC event of the year, and I think that's actually a pretty good tagline for it, because it really is anybody in the EUC space is going to be at Disrupt, whether that's in Munich or whether that's in Miami. I don't know what the numbers were in terms of attendance last year, but there was some serious heavy hitters in the audience, and you look around, you see, I know that guy from Twitter, I know that guy from Twitter, and it was a lot of rock stars from the EUC space that were there.
Agreed.
And so it was an absolutely phenomenal event, and I certainly plan to be there. My flights are booked. I haven't booked hotels yet because they haven't been officially announced. But the $1 million question, Seb, is are you and Renee going to be there?
That's the plan at the moment. So we are, as every company, looking also at the costs to not overspend money, but there will be Renee or Seb. Definitely. The question is, can we get both of us over there? Will the US be able to handle two guys like us? I'm pretty sure that yes. But we have to check if we can be both there. But at the moment, it's definitely the plan, yes.
Fair enough. And just I got to do my XenTegra plug here. If there's any listeners out there who are interested in coming with us to Miami, let me know. Have a meeting with us. We'll give you a super, super discounted pass. I think 90% off of a pass to the conference. We'll bring you along, show you a great time, and educate you on all things IGEL. So the best way to get a hold of us, I think it's... our marketing team is going to kill me, but I think it's XenTegra.com/conference or conferences. If not, email me, barry.browne@XenTegra.com, and we'll go from there.
And just a fun fact, you are getting the highest discount. I couldn't even get a higher one for the community. So,
well,
applause.
Yes. So I don't know. We bought a lot of customers last year, so we're planning to bring even more this year. So there'll be... we're going to have to get the private jet for XenTegra and its customers. So we're coming en masse.
Private jet. Nice. And by the way, you were...
Andy doesn't know that yet. He has to pay for it.
I like it. Yeah. XenTegra.com/conference is absolutely correct. Just double checked.
Okay. So Claire's not going to shoot me. Excellent.
I don't think so.
Let's pivot away from Disrupt for a minute, because that's kind of a work in progress. I think as you and I have these podcasts leading up to the event, we're certainly, as more details get announced, we'll certainly share it with the community as part of, within the community and as part of these podcasts.
Definitely.
But what I want to close out on is something that dropped, I think, January 1st, January 2nd, is when I went to IGEL.com, it looked a whole lot different. What happened, Seb?
We got hacked. No, just kidding. There was a huge rebranding happening. And to be clear, it wasn't something that we saw coming. I mean, at least not such obviously. And we can be absolutely clear and open on that discussion. So no filters now. First of all, we received the first information in November, something like this. Mm-hmm. And the new design was shown to us more or less in the same period. So we didn't have a lot of time to really think about that branding or make a lot of information in prior. So we just had the chance to talk to our insiders and saying, hey guys, there is something coming. but we couldn't really share a lot of information. And that's what happened then in 2024. We changed the logo, we changed the colors, we changed the fonts. We had, I would call a refresh of our website. It's not a complete relaunch because the basic structure is mostly the same. But one big thing is that we are now focusing on more use case driven website and less, I would say, marketing driven. And that's one thing. The other thing is the logo, right? So we had, again, also a session yesterday with our insiders and Karl Gersch, who was the main leader of the rebranding. And we talked about the logo. Barry, how do you find the new logo? How do you like it?
I don't mind it, but to me, a logo is a logo is a logo. But I know in the community there's been some more verbal opposition, I guess. But I like the hedgehog. But I'll leave it at that. I mean, I'm not opposed to a new logo. But what was the hedgehog's name? His name was Ike, right?
No, Ike is the logo. The hedgehog that we have for the IGEL knowledge base. But basically, it's in general Ike is fine. But we have IGEL the hedgehog, we have Ike the hedgehog, we have a couple of them.
Oh, so there's a number of hedgehogs.
Yeah.
And I think we should make it clear that the hedgehog is not going away. It certainly is not part of the logo anymore. Correct. But the hedgehog remains because, as everyone knows what IGEL actually means. And so I was thrilled to hear that they're not taking Ike out in the backfield and having made the long dirt nap, as they say.
Don't forget the Seb teach Barry German. We don't have to forget that one at the end of the podcast. But let's come back to the logo. You're absolutely right. I mean, the hedgehog was a kind of a door opener. And an insider yesterday mentioned a great argument. It was a door opener for discussions with customers, with all the people, because they were asking, what is this hedgehog in your logo? What does that mean? What are you doing? Now we have a kind of more of a light bulb approach for our logo, which is great because it opens a little bit more picture-driven language, because we can integrate people in the middle of that light bulb. I mean, from a pure marketing perspective, and I'm not a marketing guy, it makes sense, right? And we had to do something and find something new. I'm glad that the hedgehog will stay, because even the plush hedgehog that we have are a great door opener also on booths, on the trade fair. And even if it's just only for your dog, right? It's something where you can start a discussion with someone. And apparently we are keeping them, and I'm more than happy about this. But if you ask me, the new logo is okay. It's okay, but it's not what I would have expected. Let's call it this way.
And to me, a logo is just a logo. It doesn't, I'm sure the marketing people have they do all kinds of analysis. For me, it's just a design. It doesn't mean anything. The company and the product is what's really important. Like I said, the marketing folks have a whole different take on that. I'm sure there's tons of market research done, but for me, a logo is a logo is a logo. And we were actually lucky enough. Carl and Klaus actually attended our company kickoff in Fort Lauderdale back in first week of January. And so I met both of them in person, and we had a good conversation. And we got the insider, treatment, I guess, on the whole methodology around choosing the font, choosing the color, choosing the logo. And there's a whole science to it. It was actually quite fascinating when Carl was explaining it, because for me, being a technologist, I just don't understand or perhaps appreciate the work that goes on behind the scenes from a marketing perspective. So, kudos to the people that do that. But it's certainly not my cup of tea.
That was the discussion. Is it yellow? Yes, it's still yellow, right?
Yeah, it's funny. They were doing the presentation. It's probably a good 30-minute session that Carl did on colors and logos and branding. And I'm colorblind. So I was like, man, it doesn't do much for me. But I wasn't going to tell him that. But
and which kind of color I mean, it's difficult to say. What are you seeing when we see yellow? Do you see something else, or just
the best way to explain it to people? No, it's not gray. I see colors. I see shades. It's almost like I learned the colors wrong. So for example, when I go into a data center, every light in a data center is yellow, red for yellow, red, green. I have real problems with those colors differentiating. So for somebody in IT who needs to look at a server and have yellow, red, green, is like, oh, I got a problem.
And what are you seeing then?
They all look the same.
Something else, or
no? They all look the same.
Oh wow! Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So it's that's my problem going forward. Well, not going forward.
I
It's
mean,
been ever since I was a little guy. I remember when the first time I got glasses, I don't know, I was 10 or 11. And as part of, doing your eye test, they do the colorblind
yeah.
test. And I was like, yeah, you're colorblind. I'm like, okay, I didn't know. Like when you're a kid, you don't know, right? And so that's how I found
And I
out.
mean, if it's the only problem that you have,
Yes, exactly.
fine, I
There
would
could
say.
be a whole lot of other things wrong.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
two more things I
Maybe
want to talk
just-
about. Sorry, go ahead, Seb.
Yeah, maybe just one other thing on the Disrupt, because we talked about Miami. One change that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast is that usually we had the European Disrupt in front of the Disrupt event in the US, because we combined our internal kickoff and the worldwide internal kickoff with the Disrupt event. This year it will be turned around. We will have different kickoffs over the world, and the first Disrupt event will happen in the US. And the second one, the bigger one, the bigger one for the EMEA part, will happen in September. So just in case if we have listeners who are coming from EMEA, we will cover that one in September, and it will be what you are getting usually from us, but it will not be the same amount of people since we are not combining it with our internal kickoff.
Right.
Just one
and so
small
details on the EMEA event will start to trickle out. I'm guessing May, June, July timeframe. Seb, does that sound about right?
September. Bear with me a second. It was the 9th or the 10th, if I remember right. But let me double check the dates just to be bulletproof. Yeah, 9th and the 10th of September.
Okay.
In Munich again.
Oh, in Munich. Okay, so that'll keep our European friends happy.
And the Canadians, because we are expecting that you will join too, Barry.
You know what? It'll probably be cheaper for me to go to Germany than it is to go to Miami.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I was looking at a flight from here to Las Vegas. Call it, $800. A flight from here to Barcelona was $600. It makes no sense. But that's Canadian airfare for you. So
Okay.
you never know. You might see me in Germany at some point.
Gin and tonics with Barry.
No, I haven't drinking the German beer. Doug told me it's really good beer over there.
That's fine too. Yeah, that's correct.
One thing I want to talk about, we talked about this, I want to say it was last summer, Seb. We had some listeners give us some audio for the intro. So we did get some submissions, and I completely forgot about it. So what I'd like to do, and I'm going to need your help for this, is I'm going to create 2 intros for this podcast with the submissions we got, and I'd like to post them in the community, maybe, 45 seconds a piece, and have people vote on it, and that can become our new intro music, and then we can award, the swag we talked about to the person who created the intro, and we'll use that going forward. If you're on board with that, I'll make it happen.
Definitely. Just let me know, and I'm happy to make an announcement out of it, and we just have to define how people can vote. But yeah, definitely.
Awesome. And so what I'll do is I'll actually send it to you first, so you can make sure that you're down with it, and then we can get it posted in the community, and we can invite people to vote on the new official IGEL Community Podcast intro music.
Yes.
It's been a long time coming. I completely forgot about it, and I was going through some of my files the other day. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I forgot to follow up on that. But
I'm hoping for some hardcore metal or something like this.
Nothing like that, I'm afraid. But they're pretty good submissions.
I'm sure.
I think that's all I have to cover, Seb. Anything else you want to chat about?
No. Seb teach Barry some German. So you have to ask something. We shouldn't forget it.
Let me think about this. So I'm a big skier. I haven't gone skiing at all this year. And one of the things we always talk about is going to a après ski. It's a very popular, you go in and have your hot chocolate, blah, blah, blah. What's a après ski? I think that's actually French, but would you say that in German as well? Like after
it's exactly the same.
It's
exactly the same pronunciation. So it's coming from French. Après means after, and ski, obviously skiing.
Yeah.
And it's fun fact, it's exactly the same term in German.
Okay, so here's another thing. I'm in the market for an electric car. So my daughter's coming of age now. She got her license, and it's time to donate my old trusty Mazda 3 to a good cause. The good cause being my daughter. So I'm eyeballing an electric vehicle. How do you say electric vehicle in German? So when I come over, I want to buy my electric Mercedes-Benz.
Elektrisches PKW. Elektrisch.
Elektrisch.
And then PKW. It just it's a short version of privat. Hold on, bear with me a second. I would have to double check. Personenkraftwagen. That sounds pretty German, right?
That's about as German as they come. Seb. Say that again, please.
So, elektrisch,
Elektrisch.
Personen, Kraftwagen.
Elektrisch Pavumum Kraftwagen. Is that right?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll get it. So now you can buy a Tesla or a Hyundai somewhere in Germany.
Oh, man. No, a Mercedes or BMW.
Oh, nice ones.
Well, because, it's funny, completely off topic. I was looking at the dealerships around here for electric vehicles, and nobody has any around except for Mercedes and, or I shouldn't even say Mercedes, but BMW have some, but they're very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it sounds like the only way to get one is to put a down payment and wait.
Okay. Yeah, makes absolutely sense.
But anyway, let's call this a podcast, Seb, episode 89 in the books, and we'll try to keep it a whole lot more regular 2024. Especially leading up with all the excitement coming in April with Disrupt. All right. As always, Seb, good chatting with you. All the best. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Barry.
Bye-bye.